Okay, guys. So, my name is Rahmat Wibowo, and I am kind of a book nerd. So, a lot of books in here. So, yeah, this is an opinion about some kind of phenomena. So, one of the phenomena was this one: the friend of God and the wallet on screen, Sufism, sainthood, and the crisis of spiritual legitimacy. The study case of Abuya Mama Gufron Al-Bantani. Yeah. So, let's see. From the viral Malaysian drama Bid'ah to the phenomenon of Mama Gufron, Southeast Asia is wrestling with a question Islam has never stopped asking: what truly separates a genuine wali Allah from a charismatic performer of wonders? Why this moment matters? In the space of 12 months, two cultural phenomena forced Malaysia and Indonesia to confront the same ancient problem from two very different angles. The first was a fictional one, the drama series Bid'ah, written and produced by Irma Fatimah and directed by Pali Yahya, which depicted a charismatic cult leader known as Walid Muhammad manipulating his followers with the promises of divine proximity, forcing marriages, demanding drinking of his bath water, and claiming the station of Imam Mahdi. The character portrayed with haunting the precision by veteran actor Faisal Hussein became a regional sensation. The second was real. Mama Gufron, born Ius Sugirman, a pesantren leader from Dampit, Malang, whose viral ceramah videos showed him claiming to speak ancient Syriac, converse with ants, video calls with the angel of death, and hold a signed covenant from the Prophet Muhammad. The MUI launched an investigation. Jakim in Malaysia did the same with Bid'ah, two institutions, one with fictional and one with real. And that question is as old as Sufism itself. How does Muslim distinguish a true wali Allah, a friend of God, from wali shaitan, a friend of Satan, disguised as light, or simply from a deluded or calculating man who has mistaken social charisma for spiritual elevation? This is the bid'ah or walid. And yeah, Malaysia's Islamic Media Censorship Committee summoned the production team and reviewed unreleased episodes. Finas advised all producers to seek Mufti office approval before airing religious content. It is the controversy, a scene where a woman follower touched Wali's beard with her foot. Astaga, this is the extreme cult followers. So, what is Sufism? Sufism or Tasawwuf is the inward science of Islam, the disciplines of purifying the heart, annihilating the ego, and drawing near to God, not merely through correct ritual, but through transformed being, where fiqh, jurisprudence, governs the body, and aqidah, theology, governs the mind. Tasawwuf governs the heart. It is not a sect, not a deviation, not an alternative to Islamic law as its classical beds. It is Islam's deepest layer. The word origin is debated. Some trace it to suf, wool, for the simple garments of early ascetics, or to safa, or purify, or to ahl as-suffah, the companion who slept on the Prophet's mosque bench. Having given away every worldly attachment, whatever the etymology, the meaning is clear. The path of love, of progressive ego, death, of learning to see through God's eyes rather than one's own. Sufism, entire cultural, it spread across West Africa, Southeast Asia more effectively than any army. It produced Rumi, Hafez, Ibn al-Arabi, Al-Ghazali, and then it built the great Sufi orders or turuk that have carried spiritual transmission from the Prophet's companions to the present day, and it produced inevitably its counterfeit. There's a maqamat or stations the soul must earn. The backbone of Sufi spiritual science is the maqam, permanent spiritual stations the seeker earns through sustained effort and struggle, as distinct from ahwal or states, which are divine gifts that arrive and depart like wind. A maqam is attained and then kept. The seeker cannot advise until the lower station is genuinely possessed and live. There's a lot of maqam or station, and then taubah, repentance, wara, scrupulous piety, and then zuhd, the renunciation, detachment from the world because it is evil, but not because of its evil, but because the heart's treasure lies beyond it. Faqr, spiritual poverty. You are the poor, God is the rich. Sabr, the patience, endurance. Tawakkal, a complete reliance on God. Ridho, contentment with divine decree. Mahabbah, divine love, burning, consuming love of God that begins to dissolve the distinction between lover and beloved. Ma'rifah, gnosis, the direct experiential knowledge of God that transcends intellectual learning. The Arif Billah sees God in all things. And then Fana, annihilation of an ego. Baqa, substance in God. And then Hakikah, ultimate reality. So that's the Ma'rifatullah. So the hierarchy of saints, Wali al-Qutub and the invisible court. Yeah. So in Sufi cosmology, the friend of God from an unseen spiritual hierarchy that sustains creation, this is documented in Ali Hujwiri's Kasaf al-Mahjub, in Ibn Arabi's Futuhat al-Makkiyah, and across dozens of canonical texts. It is not an institution with office or record. It is a metaphysical reality, known fully only to God and to those he grants sight. So the apex, well, Al-Qut, the pole, and Al-Gauts, the helper, one individual at any given moment in history. The two Al-Imamah, Al-A'imah, the guides, four Autad, the pillars, and then seven Abdal, substitutes, 12 Nuqoba, leaders, 8 Nujaba, nobles, 300 Akhyar, 40 Budala, 124,000 Awliya. That's the base. So, the apex stands the Kutub, Wali Kutub, sometimes called the goat, the sucker. There is only one Kutub at any moment in history. Through Kutub, divine light radiates down through the entire hierarchy and out into the world. And then crucially, the Awliya are hidden. The first sign of Wali is that they do not announce their station. The classical scholars are anonymous, who loudly proclaim their own proximity to God, are almost definition not close to God at all. The great masters, what authentic sainthood look like. The first one is Rabi'ah al-Adawiyah from Basra, Iraq. Maqam, pure mahabbah, matter of divine love. Born in poverty and slavery, in Basra, freed by her master, Rabi'ah becomes spiritual pole of her generation. Her theology was radical in its purity. She prayed not from fear of hell or hope of paradise, but purely for the love of God. Her famous supplication endures across 14 centuries. O God, if I worship you for fear of hell, burn me in hell. If I worship you in hope of paradise, exclude me from paradise. But if I worship you for your own sake, do not withhold from me your eternal beauty. She abolished the transaction model of worship. She recognized no intermediary. She was a woman in society that would have refused her the title of scholar, yet the greatest scholar of her age at her feet. Her only miracle was her annihilation of ego's agenda. That was enough. And this is the some kind of controversial one. Mansur al-Hallaj, Matter of the Path, the supreme martyr of Islamic mysticism. Al-Hallaj underwent the decades of rigorous practice before uttering the words that would cost him his life. Ana al-Haq, I am the truth. One of the names of the God. Was this the station of Fana, the complete dissolution of ego in which only God remained and spoke through him? Or it was a catastrophe? His own master, Al-Junaid of Baghdad, Imam Al-Junaid al-Baghdadi, believed his student had spoken the truth, the world not ready to hear, in a language it could not receive. The Abbasid authorities had him imprisoned for 9 years and then publicly tortured and crucified and burned in 1922. He reported love at his executioner and prayed for their forgiveness. For Rumi, Al-Hallaj was the supreme example of love's annihilation. For Orthodox scholars, he is the permanent warning about what happens when mystical experience is not grounded within the Sharia protective framework. His legacy is the defining tension of Islamic spirituality itself. Kill me, O faithful friends, for in my death is my life. Imam Al-Abu Hamid Al-Ghazali, the Hujjat al-Islam, the proof of Islam. Al-Ghazali held the most prestigious teaching chair in the Islamic world at Nizamiya Madrasah in Baghdad. When at the height of his fame, he suffered a spiritual crisis and fell into paralytic silence. He walked away from everything wanted for 11 years through Syria, Palestine, and Hijaz, and Khorasan, retreating into zikr and solitude. What he brought back was the Ihya Ulum ad-Din, revival of religious science, the most comprehensive integration of Sufi in science with the Quranic theology and Sharia law ever written. Al-Ghazali established the principle that governs Orthodox Sufism to this day. The mystical path is real, the stations are real, but they must be grounded in Sharia, verified by a qualified guide, and never used as an excuse to abandon religious obligations. And then Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi from Konya, Maqam, Yearning, and Union. Okay. You have to keep breaking your heart until it opens. Jalaluddin Muhammad Rumi. Jalaluddin Rumi. And born in now known as Afghanistan, Rumi fled the Mongol invasion as a child and settled in Konya. And then, when Shams disappeared like the murdered by judge of disciples, Rumi's grief became ecstasy, and his separation became the poem of all separation. The Masnavi, 6 volumes, over 25,000 verses, and Divan Shams. And the Whirlings Darfish, the whirling sima of his Masnavi, orders in the body rotating around its divine center, the hands open, and the one palm down, one palm to heaven, one to earth, and a living axis of spiritual transmission. And this is the Syekh Siti Jenar, the Indonesian Al-Hallaj, Manunggaling Kawula Gusti. The Wali Songo convened at tribunal and sentenced him death. And then there's a myth. What is certain is this one is the comparison Wali Allah or Walid, one defining question. And then this is the Wali Allah and the counter for faith. Mama Gufron case, what was actually claimed? Viral, Gufron mengaku video call dengan malaikat, MUI siapkan tindakan khusus. Claim mastery of ancient Syriac, and then claim ability to video call with the angel of death. Claim to hold a personal sign, covenant from Prophet Muhammad. Claim to have authored 500 books in Syriac. Operated 9 pesantren, ponpes unik across Java, Sumatra, and Kalimantan. I don't know, man. This is istidraj, the most dangerous concept in spiritual discernment. Istidraj is the One of the most important and least discussed concept in Islam is istijaj, the gradual leading astray of a person through the granting of apparent success, power, and wonders. So the Quran warns directly, we will gradually lead them from where they do not know, and I will give them time. Indeed, my plan is firm. So the classical scholar Anonymous, not every apparent miracle is karomah, some are istidraj, a divine prolongation of deceiver's rope. So this is the case of, maybe this is the classical criteria of authenticating sainthood, rooted in Sharia, verified silsilah, recognized by peers, not self-declared, draw you to God, not to themselves, consistency of inner and outer state, knowledge of presage station. Tariquna hado madbut bil kitabi was sunnah. Our path is governed by book and the sunnah. So, that's the article of the wali, the friend of God, Sufism versus and the walid on the screen. Sufism, sainthood, and the crisis of spiritual legitimacy. Study case of Abu Ya Mama Gufron Al-Bantani. Ya guys, yo. So, he said that he was from Banten. Sugiman, I don't know. I think it's not from Banten. He used Bantani because one of the scholar from Indonesia is from Banten. I forgot the name of the sheikh. But let's skip that. Just search the teacher of both Muhammadiyah and then Nahdlatul Ulama teacher. See you in the next video. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So stay hungry, stay foolish.